Welcome, Arun.
Thank you.
Yeah. Talking about the challenges that we face, and we as CIOs typically face all these challenges, and to focus ourselves on data and machine learning, and people talk about just the technology part of it, but can we talk about the process and the people behind it and the dearth of talent? Do you see those challenges in your organization?
Absolutely. So first of all, let me actually answer or address those issues one at a time. As the previous speaker said, data science, machine learning is a team sport. So you have to have cross-functional teams. The dearth of talent is not in the data scientists, right? There's plenty of PhDs graduating who know how to code in R or Python and who understand the mathematics behind AI and machine learning. Algorithms are in fact a commodity. You have so many libraries that are available, open source libraries and so on, and anyone can write a deep learning neural net. There are architectures that are available on the web, and for those of you who have even a basic level of understanding of how these things work, you can apply it. The dearth and the challenge really is in the data. And the problem that I've seen across multiple organizations is that we simply haven't organized our data assets to be, to be useful when it comes to machine learning. I'm going to take the Internet of Things as an example. A lot of equipment and machines and devices out there, whether it's an automobile or an industrial printing press and so on, they already have a lot of sensors on the equipment. But those sensors were put there and were designed for a completely different purpose, and that was for the internal control of the machine. When the engineers were architecting the machines and when they were putting sensors, they were not thinking about IoT and one day, all of this data is going to be used by data scientists to create, predictive data products and so on. So the big challenge over there is that, in my experience, more than 90% of that data that comes to us, unfortunately, is not very useful for AI and machine learning. So we have to completely rethink how we actually design equipment and machines, so that they are more data friendly, if you will, and they're capturing the right kind of data, which can be used, by AI and machine learning. So data is a very, very big challenge. We have unclean data, missing data, and so on and so forth. And so the key, coming to the point, the key skills gap that at least I see are people who are good data engineers, in other words, who can write good SQL queries and who know how to work with relational databases, enterprise data warehouses, as well as big data, data lakes, who kind of understand how to get into the data that is spread across disparate systems in an enterprise, how to kind of extract it, aggregate it, organize it, clean it, and so on. So what we look for are data engineers who have basic skills in quickly writing scripts, SQL scripts, and so on, and who have the curiosity and the stamina and the persistence. I mean, this is not an easy task, right? So what I've seen is that the PhD level data scientists will sort of come in after all of the hard work has been done, and they will apply algorithms, to a well-structured, clean data set. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. So skills gap is there, just as an example, on the data engineering side. And then I spoke about this being a team sport. We need a lot of domain expertise. So when you're developing data products and AI and machine learning products for an industrial company, it's not exactly the same as doing it, let's say, for a marketing company or doing web analytics or customer churn analytics or so domain expertise, domain knowledge, being able to interpret the data that you're extracting from equipment in the context of how that equipment is used at a customer site, that's very important. So that's why we have to bring in multidisciplinary, cross-functional teams. And the last thing I'll say is that machine learning and AI is not the only solution to solving, problems. I'll give you an example that we struggled with a data science and an AI-based approach for some time. We could not fix it. So we reverted back to taking a very simple rules-based system approach that, literally writing a bunch of if-then-else statements that if this sensor reports this value and that sensor reports this value and something else, then, flag this anomaly or, flag this alert. So sometimes taking a more simpler, perhaps, simpler approach, can solve the problem. Yeah.
So as a CIO of a big company, and I'm going to take this question from entrepreneurs, there's a lot of folks, startups and companies want to sell you stuff. What is the best way to kind of reach you? Because somebody talked to me about a blacklist and a whitelist, which I get inundated a lot. What's your process in which you would take the call from a vendor, you would engage with the startup? What's your process like?
So that's a very good question. I don't think I have an easy answer for that. So I do get about 20, 30 emails a day from vendors requesting meetings and so on. We don't have an unlimited amount of budget. We have budgets, and we are somewhat conservative when it comes to bringing in new technologies. Essentially, it's a little bit of a timing issue, and of course, I don't expect vendors to know, what my timing is. Sometimes, the timing is just right. So, for example, we are looking at SD-WAN, for example, and are introducing that in our network, and some, folks reached out, and I said, that seems like extremely relevant. We are, looking at upgrading our network infrastructure. So let's look at SD-WAN, as an example. I am traditionally risk averse when it comes to bringing in smaller companies or startups because, longevity of the company has a going concern. Is it well funded? What if it gets acquired? And so, what's the risk associated with the technology? All of those things are big concerns. So we generally, tend to stay with the big established, players who have already vetted the technology, who have deep pockets, and who can continue to invest in R&D and so on and so forth.
So are you doing anything in the area of AI, which is the buzzword today, right? And is there any examples that you're using
Absolutely.
AI in the enterprise?
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of work that's being done related to AI in IoT analytics around, predictive maintenance, anomaly detection, both on the edge and in the cloud. Complex event processing at the edge, which is kind of, CEP has been around for 20 years, and frankly, I don't understand the real distinction between CEP and AI, but, maybe there is. And then AI also, breaks up into deep learning as well as traditional data science and machine learning, all of that. But yeah, we are looking at all of that. On IoT, we are also exploring, robotic process automation to automate some of our back office processes, and of course, we have marketing analytics, customer analytics on the.
And then talk to us about how do you get the return on investment, and how do you engage the business value, and how do you communicate the business value?
Very good question. I'm spearheading all of those efforts. This is relatively new. A lot of these business cases are forward-looking business cases, so you don't really have a lot of historical data that you can use to baseline and benchmark. In some cases, it's possible. In other cases, you're really making a new market or you're driving business model innovation, and so you have to do some scenario planning and scenario analysis. So, but definitely people have to sign up to deliver business value.
All right, I'm going to pause here. I got the 2-minute warning. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to take or ask Arun or any questions?
Yeah. So you work with a bunch of companies in your space which are manufacturing different things. And each of them provide their own sort of data challenges, right? But across the company, are there any best practices, anything that you do that kind of consolidates all the things that you do as standards? Is there some sort of a standard mechanism for doing certain things in data science at your company?
Standards in data science, so we have a well-defined process, for machine learning and data science. We try to drive standardization as much as possible. That's part of our company's culture. But for example, if you have different companies, we look for ways to, let's say, standardize the data model and standard data dictionary and so on. But sometimes it's not possible because individual companies are operating in different domains. But we do look for those opportunities. At a platform level, we want to standardize on a common set of microservices that can be reused across multiple different use cases and applications. We use industry standards, REST APIs and so on. Heaven forbid, we'll never use, SOAP or any of the other older, standards. But so that's how, and definitely, we want to stick to those standards. It comes to technology standards, architectural standards, data standards. But then again, the applications will be different. So we, at the end of the day, the processes and the applications will be unique and different. And so you have to understand that from an architectural perspective, what's going to remain unique versus what's going to be common. Yeah, and we take that approach.
All right, I think our time's up, and just to stay on time, I can just make a final comment here that there is no better time to be a CIO. And for being a Charles Dickens fan, it's either the best of time or the worst of times. And so if you're not driving a smart enterprise agenda inside your organization, that is going to be the worst of times. For all of the rest of us, it's going to be the best of times. And with that, I'd like to really thank Arun for sharing his kind of knowledge on the topic, and I'm sure Arun's going to be around so he can take further questions. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.